Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to take you through an amazing yoga posture called Paschimottanasana, but from a Dhru Yoga perspective. So the way that Dhru Yoga does this posture very much takes it into a lovely spinal wave. And there's a few kind of ways that you can modify this to really allow you, if you are a little bit tight in the body, as I tend to be, to really experience it in a lovely flowing way. So just a few things about this posture. It's a really good posture for releasing fear and amplifying courage. So in your daily life, if you're having to do something which requires that you deal with something that's quite scary or anxious for you, and you need a bit of courage, it could be that you need to stand up for yourself or ask for something that you're a bit hesitant to do so, then this could be a posture that, if you practice, can help to bring you the right frequencies and energies and abilities to then step forwards and be comfortable and confident to make those things happen in your life. It's also a posture that very much helps to control your kind of addictions. So particularly from the perspective of the senses. And it's very interesting that a lot of people tend to get or can get very addicted to things like eating certain foods, things like caffeine. It can be to all sorts of things. So we can get addicted to anything that's pleasurable, even if it's checking our social media and seeing how many likes that we've got. These all create kind of dopamine hits in the brain. And so anything that's addictive, whether it's smoking, I'm trying to think of a few other things, but nothing's really popping into my head. This posture can very much help to calm that down. And so if you're trying to make, say, a New Year's resolution, this could be a very good posture to help bring addictive qualities under control so that you can establish better habits and patterns. So it's also, before we start, it's also quite a revered posture for spiritual awakening. So let's get into the setting up of this. And ideally, you'd have your legs out straight and you want to be sitting very high up on your sit bones. So if you put your hands underneath, you can find by sitting on your hands where the sit bones are. And if you're quite tight in the legs, or particularly the hamstrings, you might find yourself kind of just rolling like I'm here. So you want to be able to sit nice and high, and if that feels very difficult, or by doing so it really makes you very tight in the back of the legs, then there's a couple of things that you can do. So the first thing is you can use either, like I've got here, a folded blanket, or you could use a very small firm cushion, and just by sitting on the corner or the edge of it, it helps to keep the pelvis in a forward rotated position to help you sit much more naturally without rolling off the sit bones. And that's really helping me to feel much more in position for this posture. And for me, I do feel that there is a degree of uncomfortableness in the back of my legs. So one of the things you can do for that is just unlock the knees a little bit. So that allows me actually to sit much taller in much more comfort. But we don't want to just leave that big gap between the back of your legs and the floor, because your hip flexors up here are going to get very fatigued very quickly, and you're not going to be able to relax into the lovely flow of this posture. So one of the things that you can do is, I've got a pillow here, is you could use either some folded blankets or a cushion, whatever the size needed, and place it under there. So you can actually let the legs relax. And so I've got that support, and my whole legs can just drop down into the pillow, and I've got that little bend in the knees and a little bit of cushion behind, just sitting on the corner to help bring me into a lovely position, which is a lot more comfortable. So the first thing I'm going to do is just let the hands rest by the side of the body, and I'm going to focus on some breathing, and to breathe with a lengthening and relaxing of the spine, a spinal breath. So breathing in, I lengthen the spine, lift the sternum. Breathing out, I allow it to relax. So what we're doing is we're starting to get a connection to the spine. because this is going to be a spinal wave. And then on the next inward breath, I'm going to take the hands in a lovely circle that's slightly in front, up over the head. And as I breathe out, the hands are going to come in front of me, down to rest on the lap. I'm going to breathe in, lengthening the spine. I draw the hands up to the heart, turn the palms to face away from me. And we're going to do something called the Anahata breath. So just working with the hands, we're just going to work with the energy of the heart. So I'm going to breathe in as the hands come towards me and breathe out as I push away. And then you can start to reconnect with the spinal breath. So as the hands are coming towards you, lengthen the spine on the inward breath and relax the spine on the outward breath. And this is a lovely heart energy movement. And it's a lovely opportunity with this movement to really feel that you're able to let go on the outward breath, and the movement of the hands away from you can help you with the idea of letting go of anything that you don't need anymore in your life. So if there's anything that's obvious, you can, even if it's just for now, and you can always return to whatever it is later on, but have the idea that you can let go of anything that's troubling you, anything that's causing you anxiety, or just something you're ready to let go of. And then what we're going to do is start to create a little bit of a pivot. So as I push the hands, a little bit of forward movement from the hips, and then returning back. So we've got this lovely pivot, but nothing that creates discomfort. So it could just be a couple of degrees of movement from the hips. Just that little bit of forward movement with the arms and back. And so now we're going to create a spinal wave. So as I push the hands forwards and I pivot, I can then come over, bringing the hands to the outside of the leg, let my whole body curve over, and then I uncurl. And I uncurl from the base of the spine, one vertebrae at a time, the hands drawing along the outside of the body, then up towards the heart, returning to where we started. So we pivot, coming over and uncurling. So we left this lovely spinal wave. And you might notice that I'm not actually touching my toes, although I could do that. And the reason I'm not touching my toes is, if you see, I can actually get to my toes. And the reason is that that would take me into a degree of feeling discomfort in the body. So one of the things that you can now do with this movement is, rather than pushing the hands straight forwards, you could think of the hands coming over an imaginary ball. And what that does is it makes the movement more circular. So it's almost like you're coming up and over a little bit, and then as you draw back and come up the body, it feels like this is more of a circle, and it adds to the feeling of a flow of energy circulating. And what we can start to do is imagine that we take the energy of the heart and we push it down the front of the legs and then draw it back up, the outside of the legs, back up to the heart. And you could imagine that colour as being green or pink. And so we have this lovely spinal wave movement. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come forwards, and if you're not able to get your toes easily, I'm going to bend my knees even more, grab my toes, and then just let myself relax into a forward position. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lengthen my spine, lift the sternum, and then pull gently against my feet. And I've got this little bit of tension through the body, and then just relax back into it. And we do that 2 more times. Breathe in and lengthen the spine, lift the sternum, a little bit of pulling against the toes and the feet, and then relax back down. And then 1 more time. and then releasing, returning the legs if you need to, and then we uncurl. And we finish with a few more spinal waves. And in fact, now I'm actually easily touching the toes without actually having any discomfort whatsoever. And so what we're going to do now, just to finish, is go into a forward position that feels relaxed. Trying to keep a relatively long spine, so it's at the point before we flex over. So it could be just here. And just by holding it for a moment, just imagine yourself having a sense of courage. Having that courageousness, and even just affirming to yourself, I am able to live my life with a sense of courage. I am able to live my life with a sense of courage. And then we continue out, coming over the head and down. And having just completed that, I would then get you to go into something like the crocodile. So Makrasana, spend a few moments in that posture and then come out of it and see how you feel. And if you practice that every day for a couple of weeks, I think you'll notice some quite amazing changes and opportunities coming into your life. You might find that there's that letting go of fear, there's more courage, you're more in control of any addictions, and you might find that it's enhancing your spiritual awakening.